All right, so on July 17th, the FCC released a new proposal, and this time they are naming names, 9 specific companies. And if you look at that list, you probably won't recognize a lot of them. But that's actually the most important part, because when you start digging into the FCC's own evidence, into the footnotes, the enforcement letters, and the publicly available reporting they cite, the picture that comes together is a lot more significant than 9 small companies nobody's heard of. And if you're in the spray drone space, a few of these names hit a lot closer to home than you might expect. So stick around and we'll get into it. Hey everyone, Jeff Bickley here with AccuSpray. In this video, I want to walk you through what the FCC just proposed in DA 26-742, who these 9 companies actually are, what the investigation turned up, and what the practical takeaway is for operators and the broader industry. All right, so before we get into the 9 companies, I want to walk you through the process that the FCC is using here, because this is not the first time they've done this. What they're actually proposing for drones follows the same template that they just use on a different category of equipment. And I think once you see how that first round played out, the drone timeline really kind of starts to make a lot more sense. So back in 2019, Congress passed the Secure and Trusted Communications Networks Act. That's the law that created the FCC's covered list. The idea here was simple. If a piece of communications equipment is determined to pose an unacceptable risk to national security, it goes on the list. Starting in 2021, companies began getting added. Huawei, ZTE, Hytera, Hikvision, Dahua. These are communications and video surveillance companies that Congress had identified as national security threats. Casper, Sky followed later, and then by 2024, all of these companies were on the covered list. But here's the thing. Being on the covered list meant the FCC would not grant new or future authorizations for their equipment. It did not mean that their existing authorizations would be revoked. Equipment that already had an FCC ID before these companies went on the list could still be legally imported and sold in the United States. So in November 2022, the FCC formalized that rule. No new authorizations for covered list equipment, but they did not touch existing ones. Then fast forward October 2025, the FCC created a new procedure. This is the key step, and it changes everything. They established a way to prohibit the continued importation and marketing of equipment that was already authorized without revoking the underlying authorization itself. They weren't undoing the certification. They were saying, hey, this equipment can no longer come into the country and can no longer be marketed here. Now, on March 27th, 2026, so just several months ago, the FCC proposed for the first time using that new procedure on the oldest entries on the covered list, the companies that have been added 2024 and earlier. That opened up a public comment period. So that was in March, and then on June 26, about 90 days later, after reviewing the comments, the FCC finalized the ban on the importation and marketing of equipment from those communications companies. July 6th, it was published to the Federal Register, and then on July 16th, it went into effect. So that was last Thursday. Now, the FCC originally proposed a 30-day window between publication and the effective date, but then they compressed it down into 10 days. And the reasoning there was that a delayed but announced ban could incentivize companies to rush equipment into the US before the deadline. So that's the template: covered list edition, proposal, comment period, final order. effective date. For communications equipment, the whole process from the first listing to final ban, that took years. Those companies were on the covered list for 3, 4, 5 years before the import and marketing ban was even proposed back in March. And then from proposal to effective date, 4 months. Now, let's look at how those same steps are playing out for drones. In December 2024, Congress passed the fiscal year 2025 National Defense Authorization Act. Section 1709 directed that DJI and Autel would be evaluated for the covered list. Then on December 22nd, 2025, the FCC went further than Section 1709 required. And we all remember that they added all foreign-made drones and critical components to the covered list at that time. Not just DJI and Autel, as everyone was expecting, but everything produced in a foreign country. But then on January 7th of this year, the FCC issued certain carve-outs. 2 categories got temporary exemptions through January 1, 2027. Drones on the blue list, and then drones that qualify as domestic end products under the Buy American standard. They also opened up a conditional approval pathway for manufacturers to seek case-by-case determinations. Meanwhile, while this is all going on, the FCC's Enforcement Bureau was already investigating. So in March and May of this year, they sent formal letters of inquiry to 9 specific drone companies. On July 10th, grantee codes for 8 of those companies were temporarily deferred. And then on July 16th, last week, the 9th followed. And then on the 17th of July, last Friday, the FCC released the proposal to prohibit their continued importation and marketing. So look at those 2 timelines side by side. The communications equipment companies sat on the cover list for years before the FCC proposed an import and marketing ban. Then drones went on the covered list in December 2025. And the FCC is already at the proposal stage 7 months later. Same template, same steps, significantly compressed timeline. So the question is, what does this proposal actually do? Well, it proposes to prohibit the continued importation and marketing of previously authorized drones and equipment from 9 specific companies. That means that if adopted, those products could no longer be, you guessed it, imported, advertised, distributed, or sold in the United States. I want to be clear, this is a proposal. It's not a final rule. There's a 30-day comment period after it's published in the Federal Register, and then it has to go through that process before anything becomes binding. And just like every other action in this timeline, the proposal explicitly states that continued use or operation of equipment that you already own will not be affected. But let's talk about who these 9 companies actually are. So here's a full list. I'll do my best to pronounce them correctly. Cogito Tech, Fukuzo Technology, Lino Dynamics, Sky High Tech, Spatial Hover, SZ Noact, Wavego Tech, Extra Technology, and XAG. Some of those names don't mean much to you, although if you're in the spray drone industry, you're at least familiar with XAG. But the FCC points out in the proposal that none of these companies appear in major industry market analysis or rankings. So on the surface, this might look like a small action targeting companies nobody's buying from anyway, with the obvious exception of XAG in our niche. But the real story is what the FCC's investigation actually covered about these companies. And I want to slow this down just a little bit because they laid out their evidence directly in the footnotes of the proposal. The FCC cites publicly available teardowns, investigative reporting, community analysis, and its own certification records showing that 7 of these 9 companies appear to be producing what the FCC calls exact hardware copies of equipment from a company named under Section 1709 of the 2025 NDAA. Now, the FCC is careful in its body text. It refers to a, quote, Section 1709 company. It doesn't name DJI directly there, but the footnotes do cite articles from Drone XL and The Verge that do name DJI specifically. They reference a GitHub repository that specifically maps out DJI front companies. And the FCC's own equipment authorization records tell the rest of the story. So let me walk you through some of those specifics. Drone XL published teardowns showing that Cogito Tech was producing a consumer drone with striking similarities to the DJI Air 3, right down to DJI's proprietary OcuSync wireless system and cross-compatible accessories. They cite reporting that Fikuzo was identified as a DJI proxy company. One of their drones was later rebranded and sold under yet another company called Spatial Hover, which is also on this list. SC NOAC Sky Rover X1 appears, according to them, as a relabeled DJI Mini 4 Pro. And then Reddit posts, YouTube reviews, and the FCC's own filings line up with those similarities. Extra got press coverage from The Verge last year and was described as, quote, the company that leads DJI to sneak its popular cameras into the US. And here's the part that really stands out. So 3 of these companies, Lino Dynamics, Spatial Hover, and Sky High Tech, submitted equipment certification applications to the FCC that still displayed DJI branding in the documentation. Their antenna spec sheets specifically had another company's name on them, among other things. That's not a loose connection. That's the paper trail sitting in the FCC's own certification system. But here's where this gets more relevant if you're in the spray drone space, because not all of these are consumer products. Sky High Tech is the company that has been reported to be behind the Talos T60X, and the FCC specifically calls it an agricultural drone in the proposal. They also name a Reddit thread where users are comparing that model directly to DJI's equipment. Then there's Lino Dynamics. The FCC cites a Max Drone Service video on Facebook that does a side-by-side comparison of the Lino Dynamics LD220 remote controller and the DJI T100 remote, pointing out identical button layout, identical housing geometry, identical antenna placement, and then users in the comments note cross-compatibility between Lino Dynamics components and DJI designs. I'm not going to get into or go beyond what the report highlights in this video, but on the left-hand side of your screen is the Lino Dynamics drone, and on the right is the DJI T100. I will leave that there. So that's one category, but then there's XAG, which is a name, of course, a lot of people in our industry recognize. They're an established agricultural drone manufacturer. They're not part of this shell company pattern. They make their own equipment. Their P150 is manufactured at their own facility in China, and their U.S. agent for service of process listed in the FCC records is, or was, a company called Pegasus Spray, according to what the document shows. XAG received its own letter of inquiry back in April and did partially respond through its legal counsel. But here's where the waters get a little bit muddy. So XAG requested a 60-day extension on 2 specific questions, saying that the information might be subject to export controls by the People's Republic of China. They said that they needed to consult with the PRC, Ministry of Commerce, to determine whether Chinese law even permitted them to answer the FCC's questions. The FCC's response, I'm paraphrasing from the footnotes, was essentially, there's no exception to the requirement to respond to our inquiries on the grounds that a foreign government might prohibit the response. So then XAG's grantee code was also deferred on July 16th. And what makes all of this even more telling is what happened when the FCC reached out to the other 8 companies. So back in March and May of this year, the FCC's Enforcement Bureau issued formal letters of inquiry to all of them. You're required to respond to those under commission rules, and every single one of the 8, all except for XAG, failed to respond. So on July 10th, the FCC temporarily deferred their grantee codes. Their equipment authorizations are effectively frozen now as well. So to be clear, as I mentioned, this is a proposal. It has not been finalized. There is a 30-day comment period. The reality is your existing equipment is still legal to import, sell, buy, and fly, and to service. The blue UAS and domestic end product exemptions are still in place through January 1 of 2027, and the conditional approval pathway is still open. The FCC also confirmed that importation for federal government use and for commercial testing and product development is exempt from this proposal. But here's what I want you to take away from this video. The process, I think, matters more than the 9 names on the list. The FCC has built a template on communications equipment, coverless edition, new legal procedure, proposal, comment period, final order, compressed effective date. That template is now proven and complete, and it provides a precedent. And they're applying it to drones using the exact same steps. So the difference here is just the speed. The communications equipment stuff sat on the cover list for years before the import and marketing ban was proposed. Drones went on the list in December of last year, and the FCC is already proposing bans on specific companies just 7 months later. The enforcement investigations, those were all running in parallel, and then the grantee codes were deferred before the proposal even came out. This isn't just an action against 9 small companies. The FCC is building a public, documented, evidence-based record, and that record now exists in a formal regulatory proceeding. So if you are an operator, the reality is that nothing changes for you today. You can use what's authorized, plan around what's real, and don't make decisions based on panic. Everything that the FCC has released has stated explicitly that drones already owned by the public can continue to be used. Now, if you're worried about a gap between where the technology is between Chinese and American drones, if you rely on this equipment for your operations, if you are planning to purchase additional equipment to scale your operations, all I can say is get it while it's hot. Procrastinate at your own risk. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not predicting the future. I'm just watching the timeline, and I think we can infer a lot from what has happened historically. The fact is that the story is not slowing down, and every signal coming out of Washington over the past 7 months has all pointed in the same direction. So take that for what it is. But listen, if this kind of information is helpful, and if you're not already, make sure that you subscribe, turn on notifications. We will continue tracking these developments and trying our best to separate what's confirmed from what's speculation. As always, be safe, fly smart, and keep building.